It's time. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's Remind podcast. My name's David Masterton, and I'm joined by the wonderful Dr. Ashleigh Moreland. And last week, off having leftover turkey and ham or whatever you're having for Christmas, we've now jumped into New Year. So, welcome to 2025. We may be recording this in the past, but welcome
Happy
to 20.
New Year!
Happy New Year! For those still playing along with the home game, Ash is still doing the 75 hard, and I do not believe any champagne was consumed during New Year's. So, me on the other hand, I would have consumed alcohol because, again, we may or may not be recording this in the past. But we are, oops, I set it again. And this is all about setting the same New Year's resolution over and over again. It's a new year, new me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, doesn't it? It actually grinds me. It grinds me for people who I have been in their world for a long period of time, and I've seen the exact same thing every year, new me, and it doesn't happen. And it's not an attack on them that it grinds me. It grinds me because I feel frustrated on their behalf in the sense of like, what are you going to do differently this time? Because you've tried this multiple times and you're trying it again because the last few times didn't work. And so what are you going to do differently this time to actually be able to succeed? And this is the conversation that I want to have now, because honestly, this is something that I see a lot. I, in my own life, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, have a very good track record. Last year, my resolution was to complete a half marathon. At the time, I couldn't even run 100 meters. And I did a half marathon last year.
Nice.
However, not in the context of New Year's resolutions, but in the context of goals where I've said, I'm doing it. And then I kind of do it and go back to how I used to be. It's weight loss.
Yep.
The cycle of I'm losing weight, and then sometimes I achieve it, but then I go right back to square one. Or sometimes I say I'm losing weight and then it doesn't happen. So it's like that sabotage of the intention's there, the goals are there, the will is there, the want is there, the desire is there, but it just doesn't eventuate. And so I'm curious about having this conversation, which for me is relevant around the weight story, but I'm interested in having this conversation with you and with our viewers or listeners around, have you set a New Year's resolution? Is it one that you have set in the past? What's your track record been like with New Year's resolutions? And what strategies are you going to use to actually set yourself up for success?
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about David a while back. We've got three phases of David. We've got the David a while back, the David in the recent past, and the David now. The David in a long time ago was the one that would traditionally look at New Year's and the reset of the calendar as a way to go, okay, reset of calendar, reset of intentions. You sort of give yourself that, I'll do it then, and then that gives you time to then kind of prepare and things like that. And then not many things would actually happen. And the good thing was I always had a valid reason why they'd never happen. Because of this or that or them or the goober, the gabba, the gooba. But and so that's how I would justify rolling over and doing the oops, I set it again. And then to the more recent past,
Can I pause for 1 sec?
Mm.
What were the valid reasons?
Completely external. I couldn't because
What are some examples though?
Okay, so I'm trying to think of examples. Let's just say, this is a great one. I'm going to lose weight this year. Great. And this is back at the time when they had The Biggest Loser on TV.
Oh yeah.
And I applied for it. Didn't get in. Can't lose weight. Didn't get in.
Wow.
Or it's so hard doing it. I can only do it with that. So, I'll try something else. Or I'll definitely focus on, building my career. But to do that, I need to do a new course or I need to do something else. Oh, but I didn't get the raise that I wanted, or I didn't get the promotion that I wanted, or I didn't get the job that I applied for, so I don't have the extra money, so yeah. Or, I really need to stop being so volatile or angry. Well, look, I can do that so long as these people around me don't do these things.
Yep.
So, I want to be like that. It was completely external.
Yeah. And the ones that I most commonly hear is, oh, but I didn't have time, or I couldn't afford it, or really commonly kids are used as a scapegoat.
Okay, well, I never used kids because this was me BC before kids, or before children.
BK?
I'm about to say BK. Well, I like BC before children. There we go. But that would absolutely have come in. By the time I had kids, I went into this phase of just making an absolute mockery of it. And so when people would say, what's your New Year's resolution? I go, to not listen to AM radio this year. And I nailed it every year. Never missed a beat, right? So it was a joke, right? But I had something, and people go, okay, as opposed to I don't believe in that crap, and then that long-winded story and all of that.
Yeah.
And to now, I don't see it as a mockery, but I don't feel as though I need to have the reset in the time to set a new intention, which is, I think, what it is, where it's a collective resetting of intentions. What do I intend? Because a bit like you, my intention gets set when I'm following my oohs. And if you're wondering what an ooh is, go back to last week's episode where I talk about the oohs and the ahs and the rahs. And the ooh is that sort of intuitive nudge to like, wow, this really ooh. Normally followed by the ego going, you can't do that. Who the hell are you? No, get. What if you fail? What if you don't have the money? What? So, so the intentions get sort of set at that time. So it could be at any stage. And so now when it comes to, I have intentions for next year already that are in the works. And yes, one of them is my physical form reflecting how I feel internally. Because the last 3 years of my healing journey has, like, if you go back to episode 1, you would see a very different face change with me. I've gotten a lot softer, right? And so back when I started going very physically. When I started really working on myself emotionally, that's when I had to lean into soothing myself with food. And I found that really disturbing because one thing I wanted to do was be all things at all times at once. I wanted to be, have a mastery over myself and my emotions as well as physically, as well as it. However, it simply wasn't possible. Now, whether that's a limiting belief or not, we'll leave that up to whomever. It very well could be. However, I was guided to not to carry more weight, but to be kinder on myself on one side while I focused very heavily on the other side. And so the intention's already been set. The intention and that was set a while ago with an unknown, when is it going to start? I can definitely feel the energies now moving towards it. And so physical appearance, getting more active, running again, because I haven't run for probably about a year at this point. And I do have a long-term goal of cracking a half marathon under 2 hours. So I've done 3 of them, and they've been like 2 hours 22, 2 hours 10, 2 hours 15, something like that. But I want to get under that 2 hours, which is an average of roughly just under 6-minute kilometres, something like that. But that's maybe not for next year. That's maybe after I've got a lot more physical form or, coming back. And then, but again, that's not time dependent. They're sort of like more stages or gates. And so I think when people set an intention to do something, like you can't just come flying into the end of a year and then January 1 has the magical powers of turning everything around. It doesn't. So basically, when you have a New Year's resolution, it starts the year before. The intention has to be there the year before. And knowing the blockages has to start. Like you just can't just run into it and sort of like, I've heard from gym owners, massive spike in gym memberships January 1. Visitations, for the first like 15, 20 days.
2 weeks.
And then
2 weeks.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Totally.
Because there's something else that needs working on, and being gentle on yourself. Like if you were to sort of say, I want to do this and this and this and this, okay. Like go for it, but are you being realistic, or what's behind all of that? So,
yeah. I think that's really important. And I keep seeing this picture in my mind where the discussion is really around vibrational frequency, right? So from a quantum level, a couple of things. I think this came up in a couple of contexts. So the first one was you talk about that you have to be starting to prepare the year before, which whether or not it's the year before, it really doesn't matter. It could be you're setting, like for me with this half marathon, when I set that, I wasn't a runner. I couldn't even run 100 meters. I didn't even have the mindset of a runner. I was not even prepared to run. This was something that landed on me like a punch in the gut on New Year's Day, and I knew that I had to do it. And so the half marathon wasn't until October, and over that time, I had to do the inner work. I had to do the identity shifting work to prepare and equip me to be a vibrational match for doing that. But what most people don't understand is that they think that the behavior change is just about the action. It's just about the execution and the compliance and the box ticking and the doing. And that whether that starts on January 1 or whether that starts in July after you've done the inner work to prepare you for that, actually doesn't really matter. The intention is the goal. It's just that most people don't understand how to achieve their goals and what the true barriers are. Because if the only barrier was that you weren't doing what you already knew you should have been doing to achieve that goal, then you would have just done it. Everyone would achieve their goals. That's not the real barrier. The real barrier is that I am not who I need to be yet to be able to do what needs to be done to achieve the goal. And so the real work is in evolving and healing and growing us. And so what happens is I want you to imagine some parallel lines, horizontal lines, all in parallel. And I want you to imagine that each one of those lines represents a higher and higher frequency of our existence. So at the base is like, I feel resentment and I feel I don't take action, I don't look after myself, I don't sleep well, I like
frustrated,
all these
angry.
Habits that are not healthy for us. And then you look at what's a higher frequency than that. Well, then maybe let's say this is where I might be, and I know that I want to lose weight, but me having that healthy, fit, nourished body is on a parallel frequency that I'm not at yet. And so if that's up here, so if you're watching the video, if you're listening to this on Spotify or you're listening to this on YouTube, actually watch the video so you can see what I'm doing with my hands for this bit. If you're here and your goal is to elevate to achieve an outcome that's up here, until you actually elevate yourself and rise to be a match for that outcome, all you're doing is going to sit in the want and desire of the outcome. So I can sit here and this version of me can know that I want to lose weight, but the healthy body sits up here and I'm not a match for that. I'm a match for wanting it. And I can be an expert in wanting to lose weight.
Ooh.
I can be an expert in desiring to lose weight. I can even, at the level of wanting to lose weight, know what I want to do, what I would eat, what time I would get up, I could know all of it. But if I'm only ever in the frequency of wanting it, I will never have it. And so I need to do the inner work, which is usually, in my experience with my clients and even in my own journey, when I say the inner work that helps me to move out of wanting it to feeling safe to having it, it gets pretty deep. It's like, what would be the biggest fears that would hold me back? Oh my gosh, do you know a really common one that comes up is, what are you most afraid that you would do if you achieved that? And a really common one is, if I had that body and someone rejected me, I would know it's not because of my weight and it's because of something inherently wrong with me. That's a massive fear that people have. Or if I had that body and I got attention from someone else that's not my partner, I might actually like it. And that scares me.
Yeah.
If I actually achieved that, if I actually had that, I might not have. This is one that actually came up for me that I realized and recognized in myself, which was, if I had a stable weight. So I've had that body before, but I wasn't the frequency match to keep it.
Okay.
And so I would have it, but then I would come out of it again. Why? I realized it's because I love taking people on a journey. I love the journey of losing weight. Okay. And I get a lot of connection out of it. I get a lot of significance out of it. People come along with the ride with me. And if I had a stable weight and I didn't have to go on that journey anymore, I would miss all those people who come along for the ride with me. And I wouldn't know how to maintain that sense of, right? So that's part of my healing journey is, well, what beliefs, what patterns, what crap do I need to let go of so that I become a match for maintaining that stable, healthy weight where my body is nourished, where I am fit, where I'm healthy. Because anytime I don't have that, it's because I am not in the frequency of it. And so whether we're talking about exercise, running, a financial goal, a career goal, a study goal, it doesn't matter what your New Year's resolution is. Yeah. If you have something that you want to achieve, remember the desire and want frequency is lower than the frequency of the thing that you want in the first place. It's literally coming from a place of lack. If I want something, it's because I don't have it. Which is lack. It's scarcity.
Where if you just sort of go, I've got it, then you're there.
Well, okay, so for me that doesn't work because I have a very logical brain and I can clearly see I don't already have it. Like I don't already have that body. So it doesn't work for me to say, oh, but I've got it. Fake it till you make it. That doesn't work for me.
But what about if you were 5 kilos down? What if you're on the journey? What if you're on the path? So you're no longer wanting it. That's exactly
right. Yes.
Right. Now you've got it. But you're not there yet.
Yeah. Yes. So that's the difference is when you focus on your affirmation statements, it's not like, well, I am a millionaire. Well, no, I'm clearly not. But am I doing the inner work where I become a frequency match that if I were to be a millionaire, that I would be able to embody that my nervous system wouldn't completely collapse and capitulate, that I would still remain humble, that I would, keep being able to live my life? Or do I have some inner work to do? Because if I can be a frequency match for it, and just by virtue of it taking time to manifest, it hasn't appeared yet. But if I am feeling safe to achieve the end goal, if I believe in myself and my identity matches that end goal, like, I'm a runner. I mean, I'm very slow. I also have to walk quite frequently. I also really struggle, and I huff and puff, and I blah, blah, blah. But the difference is I am a runner who is training and working towards completing a half marathon versus I am not a runner who wants to do a half marathon. That's the difference. Down here, I'm not a frequency match for it, and all I'm sitting in is want. Whereas up here, I am a frequency match for it because I've embodied the identity of it, and all it's going to take is time.
And yeah, it's very well said, because what we're talking about is raising vibration and manifesting and all of these things to, when you say doing the work, it can be quite broad. But let's sort of break down, like you mentioned before, about sort of words of affirmation or affirming, that it is talked about a lot in this same sort of sphere of what we're talking about. But some people use it as, that's all I need to do. If I just say it's plenty of times, have a vision board and then just write it down, that's it. Now, it has a place. It is a tool. No one opens up their toolbox and there's just a single screwdriver. There's lots of other things that you kind of need. And one thing that I've found that really reminds me that I'm ready to move into this next step was, instead of looking at it and aspiring to something, I asked myself, what is preventing me from dropping weight? There's the physical side of things. Now, you can apply this to addiction or to any other habit that you're trying to break, because for me, you can see my habit. That's the only difference, right? If I put too much in my mouth, you can see it, right? There's a long-lasting effect. So the first symptom is that I use food as a way to soothe myself if I'm heightened. Now, there's no way to be in the middle of a battle and to be soothed 100% of the time. So while I feel a lot of peace a lot of the time, when there are things happening, food comes in as an external sort of way to release pressure. But secondly, and this is probably the most important point, was that I realized recently I was not at one with my body. I did not appreciate my body because I didn't appreciate how it looked. So therefore, I had to distance myself from it, going, my body looks terrible, as opposed to being appreciative of the fact that this vessel, this body, has kept me alive, even though I've fed it stuff that it shouldn't really have had. Because I wasn't born fat. I wasn't created this way. What it's done is, whether it's a slow metabolism and all of these things I used to bitch and moan about before as a reason why I was overweight, is I fed it things and it's needed to do this for my survival. So when I can appreciate that and bring my body along with the ride and sort of say, I'm grateful for what you've done, now together let's get into shape. That was something that has only been more of a recent thing, because before it'd be like, wouldn't it just be great if I could just get rid of this body, step out of the fat suit, chop it off, right? Just be done with it. Like this sort of like, ooh, well, hang on. This is me. I did this. My body is working with me and I'm not being grateful and appreciative. And so when you sort of say, how do you do the work to get to that level? Well, it doesn't need to be you're hyper-focused on it and then you journal and then you vision board it and then you affirm. And it could be as simple as you have to step back 10 steps and go, do I appreciate my body? How do I feel about my body? And what's stopping me from loving it? and being together as one. So it could, and again, this is where you got to use your discernment as to which way is it, because the right answer for me may not be the right answer for you, and vice versa. So, oops, I said it again. You know,
I would love
it's a big
to
one.
hear from our friends out there. What is your New Year's resolution, if you have set one? Did you choose not to set one? And if so, why? Were you protecting yourself from feeling like if you set one, you would just let yourself down and fail? Do you think it's all just a load of rubbish? How do you navigate inspiring yourself and setting goals and having something to work towards? And also, I would say the other thing that came up for me, Dave, is in all of that, I loved what you said, that you accepted with grace and compassion the fact that focusing on your physical self was taking a back seat while you prioritized your inner self. And I think that that in itself is a very important message, and it's one of the things. So as part of our programs moving forward, our Rise and Thrive participants who have done Rise and Thrive in the past have the opportunity to continue their healing journey in what we call Thrive Plus. But what is open to the public is a life goals and planning day. And what that is all about is we do a comprehensive 360-degree view assessment of all of the dimensions of well-being in your life. And one of the things I've done I did one in 2024. And one of the things that I really try to convey is that we can fall into the trap of wanting to overcome everything all at once, of wanting to fix all of it. When we diagnose and we assess and see all the things that are wrong, then we can just want to go and change everything all at once. And something that in all of my years of experience has been really learning that patience and that discernment around what is my area of focus right now. And it doesn't mean to say you completely don't acknowledge or you abandon everything else, but having an area of focus as well as compassion and grace for the other areas of your life, knowing that you've got a long time to come back to it. You can circle back when you're ready. And once you've done, like I see it kind of like scaffolding. If you focus on the most important area first, that's the area that builds the scaffolding that then creates the stability and the foundation for you to go and start working on the next thing. And so for me, I knew that there was some really deep underlying emotional stuff around and existential stuff around my body. And I had to do a lot of work in the lead up to that, focusing on other areas of my health and well-being that provides that scaffolding to support and provide the stability while I go on this really deep, vulnerable journey with the stuff with my body. And so in that life goals and wellness sort of planning stuff, I really encourage our participants to focus on one thing, knowing that the rest isn't going anywhere. Best case scenario, you see a ripple effect where when you focus on that one thing, the other stuff kind of actually gets better anyway. But your focus and your commitment and your drive and your intention is on one thing. Kind of like that old adage that if you try and go after 2 rabbits, you catch none. Yeah. Pick one.
Love it.
Just pick one and focus your energy on it, knowing that the rest is still going to be there. And that's my encouragement to you guys. If you want to join the Life Goals and Planning Days, shoot us a message because I'll start advertising that in the next month or so.
Nice. Beautifully said, Ash. All right, people. Thank you for watching this week's episode. We will catch you next week. Remember, like, subscribe, comment. How many goals have you set?
Share.
Share. Absolutely. Maybe that could be your New Year's resolution, to share as many Remind episodes as possible. Bye-bye.
Bye.